Okay, so we're looking at number 20, and it says construct a polynomial function. So I have f of x equals, and with the following properties, it's third degree. So if it's third degree, that means you have three factors. And then it says only real coefficients, and that means if I have a number, if I have coefficients that they're all reals, whenever I multiply this all out. And what does it need? Negative 3 is a 0, so that means x plus 3 is one of the factors. And then 2 plus I is another one of the zeros. So, well, I didn't leave myself enough room, so here's what I got so far. X plus 3, x, in this case, is 2 plus I, so minus, remember how you always change the signs? 2 plus I, that is the 0. So it's like this is replaced. I put the 3 in there, and I put that whole thing in there. The other thing is that if you have an I, that means you've taken a square root. And if you take a square root, remember you have to do plus minus. So you actually know the other one without them giving it to you. But you say minus here. 2 minus I. Now, if this was all the problem that they gave you, you would be done. Because this is a function that has its third degree. When you multiply this all out, you'll get real coefficients. Because this would, it's a plus or minus, so it's going to kill off the I, it'll kill off all the i's basically. But the thing is, it has to have a y-intercept of negative 30. So now I have to figure out, well, what would the y-intercept be? So what happens when you find the y-intercept? You put an x in, you put a 0 in for x. So if I put a 0 in for x, you get 3, negative 2 plus I, and a negative 2 minus I. So what would happen? This I stuff is kind of giving us a hard time. So let's multiply this out and see what it actually looks like. So I'm not going to multiply this part yet. So I'm going to multiply these two guys together. So x times x is x squared. Now x times both of these. Now this winds up being x minus 2 plus I. I'm going to distribute my negative, so I get a negative 2 plus I. And this over here would be x minus 2 minus I as well. I'm going to distribute my negative. Okay, so x times all three of these, negative 2 times all three of these, and negative I times all three of these. That's how you distribute and multiply this out. So x times x, x squared. X times negative 2, negative 2x. X times this guy here, the I is a positive ix. Now multiply through by negative 2. Negative 2x. Negative 2 times this guy is a positive 4. Negative 2 times this guy is a negative 2i. I times everything. Negative I times x is a negative ix. This would be a negative 2i. Wait, a positive 2i, because a negative times a negative is positive. And negative times a negative is negative I squared. So I'm going to have another minus I squared here. So the ix's cancel. Your 2i's cancel. You're left with x squared minus 4x. And then minus I squared. Plus 4. And then a minus I squared. Well, I squared is equal to negative 1. Remember how I is supposed to be the square root of negative 1? Well, if you square both sides, like I squared, it gets rid of the radical and you have negative 1. So this is like saying negative 1. And a negative negative 1 is like saying plus 1. So what you wind up with is x squared minus 4x plus 5. Okay, that times x plus 3. That's your new function here. Now if I put a 0 in for x, I'm supposed to get 30 out because it says the y-intercept is 30 or negative 30. I think it's negative 30. It's supposed to be negative 30. If I put a 0 in, I'm supposed to get negative 30. So if I put a 0 in, I get 3. Put a 0 over here, I get a 5. That's 15. I don't want 15. I want, whenever I put a 0 in, I want to get out of it. I want this to be a negative 30. I'm trying to draw a little arrow here. Okay, I want this negative 15 to be negative 30. How would you change 15 to give you negative 30? Like, if I can multiply 15 by something, what would that something have to be to give me negative 30? If you don't see it's negative 2, you divide by the 15. And that little number would be negative 2. So what I need to do then is put me a negative 2 out here in the front. So my overall answer would be f of x equals negative 2 times x plus 3 times x squared minus 4x plus 5. And you can multiply that out if you wanted to again, but this is manageable, just as manageable, I suppose. And remember, what would happen, if you put a 0 in right now, you get 15, just like we did here. But with a negative 2 in front of it, I'm going to get a negative 30. And that gives me my y-intercept of negative 30.